Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Intel Extreme Master Qualifier for Cologne. This is the final Asian stage for the qualifiers, and it means we have the top 16 players from all of the Asian regions fighting against one another to compete for 2 spots over in Cologne, coming up right after Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo. All right, so we have 16 players going to be playing out this day, and in fact, we can actually just show you the brackets. Why not? Let's just switch over to that. As you can see here is our round of 16. It's going to be double elimination format, and already in the round of 16, some pretty cool matches to kick things off. As you can see, we have 4 Chinese representatives. I won't go through all the names. And then we have a lot of Koreans in the pool as well. And of course, we have our 4 Southeast Asian representatives, Japito, King Kong, Pig, and Ender. Now, as you can see in that round of 16, one of those matches really does stand out. And I'm pretty sure I just got an invite into that first game. So I need to bring it back to me so that I can switch over and try and get into our first series. Now, our first series, of course, will be Classic versus Jaedong. A very, very nice little PvZ to kick things off here for the qualifier. But again, if you do end up losing in that first round, you still have the lower bracket to actually tide you on through if you don't do quite as successfully. But before we get into that, guys, we have a little competition that we're going to be running here, which we can also show on my delightful screen of wonder. Basically, all you have to do is go over to ESL TV on Facebook, so facebook.com/ESLTV, like the page, and then scroll on down to this little picture of this rather ugly chap down here. And all you have to do is like and leave a comment, Finn. Or leave a comment. Leave a comment. Do a comment. There you go. And then you can win the shirt. Basically, it's a Heart of the Swarm shirt, and it's signed by all 8 representatives of the WCS Season 1 Europe final. So you've got people like Jaedong, sorry, not Jaedong, he wasn't in WCS Europe. You've got people like MVP on there, Happy, Stefano, Lucifron, Baby Knight, all of the top 8 from WCS Europe Season 1. So nice little shirt there, signed by all those guys. But as I said, our first series, once Classic and Jaedong have done their map vetoes and are getting into this best of 3, will be Classic and Jaedong. So we chose the best series. We chose the best series for the round of 16, but whether or not they're going to get rolling anytime soon is questionable. Sometimes we end up picking these series, and then all of a sudden someone disappears. They want to go for food, and then we have to wait for a little while. No. So also Stardust is online. I guess he might be casting in Korean or something. But yeah, Stardust is here as well. There's quite a lot of people chilling out. But as I said before, 2 players from this qualifier will advance on to Cologne. We already have quite a lot of Terrans listed when it comes to participating in Cologne, and just 1 lonely Protoss so far. So we have Mana, who already qualified. We have JackG, 4GG, QXE, Polt, and Hero Marine. So a lot of Terrans there. But there is a good possibility that going through this qualifier, we may not see some Terrans. We'll see. Obviously, Cure did very well yesterday throughout the entire qualifier, playing some really, really cool TVZ mech styles. But today, we have extremely strong Zergs and extremely strong Protoss. Rain and Classic having qualified, as well as SOS also participating. But also, I guess we can't really shrug off the fact that we also, having already had invites to the qualifier, we have Maru and Bomber also playing today. So some really, really strong Terrans now that I think about it. We could just have 7 Terrans and then 1 Protoss and then, okay. Stardust is asking where Berlin is compared to Cologne, so I'm answering him. I don't want to be rude to the guy. All right, so still Classic and Jaedong have not vetoed. I shall ask them what's going on. Start soon? Question mark. Okay, that's kind of rude, but whatever. So now we just wait on Classic and Jaedong. Obviously, Classic playing for SK Telecom. We've seen him a few times. I think we've seen him a few times in Pro League. I can't quite recall 100%. But from what I know of Classic and the way he plays Protoss in general, he's pretty darn good. I mean, you have to be good to actually get through the entire qualifier yesterday, which has an extremely, extremely stacked lineup. Again, we had people like Sulky actually get knocked out by Cure during that process. It's a really, really tough bracket to try and end up going through. But there you go. That's by the by. I mean, if we look at the people that Cure actually took out on his way there, he took out Cassia, he took out Cure, he took out Hush and Armani. His really big challenge was Sulky during that whole bracket. And then we go to a player like Classic, who during his qualifying run took out Liquid Hero, Parting, Dia, and, well, I mean, those three names speak for themselves. Of course, there's a lot of PvP, but that's a really, really impressive run through one of these online qualifiers for a player like Classic. So right now, Classic's still not replying to me, and they're not getting their game on for a sec. So for now, we are just chilling out and waiting, guys, whilst Classic and Jaedong do get going. But aside from that, what we have coming up for the Intel Extreme Masters, we not only have this qualifier, but we also fly out to Brazil, Sao Paulo, on Sunday, Monday-ish, and then it does start throughout the week. We have Sao Paulo. And then when we're back from that, we have maybe about a week's rest, then we're into Cologne. And then after Cologne, we have 1 day's rest, and then we're back straight into WCS Europe Premier League. Myself and Mr. Sean Apollo Clark, who's currently not here, he's flying off to do other things over in Sweden. So yeah, a very, very stacked year in terms of StarCraft content here at ESL TV, and in terms of what we're going to actually broadcast, a lot of StarCraft. But aside from StarCraft, we're doing some other stuff. Well, aside from broadcasting StarCraft, we're doing some other stuff. I personally am writing up a load of Challenger write-ups for websites to kind of bring... I'm not casting Challenger, but I really kind of want to be involved. So I'm writing a lot of stuff and throwing out predictions here and there. So that's fun. Classic says, okay, soon. So great stuff from Classic. Thank you very much. Looking forward to Classic versus Jaedong. And Jaedong is here as well. Okay, so I'm assuming they're going to start the vetoes, or at least are doing them very, very shortly. Jaedong currently sits on the Korean server very, very highly. Where is he? Okay, he's 16th in Grandmaster. Not many Terrans actually there. Everyone is a barcode. Wait. Okay, so where is the first non-barcode ranked on Korean? Gypsy Dagger. Gypsy Danger is 51st. Everyone above that, the top 50 are entirely barcodes. So, kind of scary. All right, so as you can see here in the entire thing, this is Korean ladder at the moment. It's really quite telling and interesting to see that no one wants to be identified. There's Gypsy Danger. And there's Kangho. Hey, Kangho. And then Liquid Taser, of course, because he's a badass and he doesn't care who actually sees what he's doing. Then Snake. All right, so, yeah, that's a lot of barcodes. And now Classic seems to be in a lobby. He's invited me to a party, and he's invited me to Frost for our first game here between the guys. So we are just downloading the map, apparently. Don't know why. And then we're going to jump right on in. Return to lobby. Good luck. Thank you. Okay. So we have Jaedong going up against Classic. As we all are very, very fully aware when it comes to Jaedong, at the start of 2013, his ZVP wasn't quite there. But through a lot of pushing, it's weird how Jaedong actually works, because oftentimes, you know, there's these like lulls in certain matchups, and then he just flies on forwards. But you know, during 2013, his EVP really kind of made leaps and bounds constantly, and it's right up there at the very tip top. And we saw him in a lot of tournaments, performing very well, of course. A lot of second places during 2013, which culminated in a first place at Asus ROG NorthCon. I personally don't think that that was the tournament he wanted to win. Of course, he would have probably wanted to win another one before that, duh. But he didn't look, you know, as excited as maybe one would have if it had been something like a WCS championship. It was a bittersweet end for Jaedong at the very end of the year, but I'm pretty sure in 2014 he's looking to take titles on bigger stages and impress around the world, because I mean that's just what Jaedong does, having recently just, you know, settled in the foreign scene. And he's going to be competing everywhere. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into game number 1, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner as our teal Protoss. He is classic. And up to the top, we have Mr. Jaedong. And I am going to commit a faux pas in observing and casting and press this button, because my hotkeys are not set up properly for some reason. So there we go. Did that work? Why didn't that work? Ah! All right, my follow button is not working. No worries, we can continue on. I can observe without my little follow button, but it does make things a little bit easier when you are solo casting. Anyway, so of course, classic Jaedong. Frost is our map, both spawning on the right-hand side here. So obviously taking third bases is going to be something that you have to make sure you're taking the right one at least. Luckily for Jaedong, he did send his Overlord in the right direction first. So that's going to help him out quite a lot in terms of identifying what Classic's going to be up to. He's looking to go for a gateway expansion though, whilst Mr. Jaedong, well, we're going to see what he wants to do. He goes straight for the spawning pool, and then he'll be going for the expansion anytime soon as well. So he's playing a little bit more defensively with that spawning pool first. You probably can oftentimes get away with hatchery first on a map like Frost, unless, of course, your Protoss opponent decides to send out a double scout if they get really unlucky. Generally, nice scout out there, though, by Classic, spotting that Overlord, so he does know where his opponent spawned. There's no opportunity here for Jaedong to see this Nexus and then pull straight on back with that Overlord. So well timed out there by Classic. But yeah, back to what I was saying about the Forge play that you can do on this map. For Classic, say for example, if he'd thrown down a Forge a little bit earlier on and sent his probe down to this bottom left-hand corner, because it is a 4-player map, oftentimes you have to send out a second probe to try and make that work as a cannon rush if you were going up against something like a hatchery first. So it's not really the most economical of openings, and it does come with some kind of inherent risk. Because, I mean, you could try something like that, and then your opponent just completely shuts it down anyway, and then you've lost a lot of mining time on 2 probes, etc. Nice control there by Jaedong, though. We'll push this first probe away, as he's going to look to find that third base that Jaedong is flying along with. And that Nexus is about to finish. So Jaedong's going to poke on in, try and get confirmation of what's going on in terms of the gas geysers maybe, and then from that point, he can try and establish a bigger picture as to what Classic's going to be up to. He already sees one gas geyser, sees the second one as well whirring away, and there's no Stalker threat or presence just yet. So that Overlord has time to move down to this bottom left-hand corner and maybe poke in a little bit later on. For now, Mothership Core is on the way here for Classic. And aside from that, not a whole lot going on. And one thing that is interesting is that Jaedong decided not to go for any gas geysers against a gateway expand here. He just went for the third and is very content with trying to deal with things with just slow links for now. The Zerglings poked on forwards and did see the Stargate already in production that was in the wall-off. But Classic placing that in the wall-off in general is a big sign that he's not really too bothered about hiding it. So he's just going to play this out a little bit longer. There's not really any opportunity to do, you know, any kind of sneak attacks. So I'm anticipating something like Phoenix play from here. Of course, he could use Void Rays to try and establish himself a third base. But we'll have to see what he opts to do. Okay, so it is going to be the standard Phoenix. I would have been surprised by anything else, especially since it had already been spotted. Jaedong's getting himself this third, nicely up and running. Plenty of drones on the way, and still no gas geysers being taken. Interestingly, the Mothership Core manages to get over here and gets a worker kill with a Time Warp. A second worker kill as well. This is quite interesting. I didn't really expect him to do too much with that Mothership Core. And in the grand scheme of spawning locations on this map, it would be very, very difficult to do that kind of harassment if they'd spawned like anywhere else. You'd have to kind of start swinging. If they'd spawned north-north, you'd have to swing around the middle of the map and then try and get to the drone line on the very, very southern tip of it. And then if it was cross spawns, you have a whole long way to traverse across. But the utilization of Time Warp and slowing down the drones to pick them off was quite nice. Gets a few more as well. Noticeably, Jaedong hasn't built any Spore Crawlers to really combat this. It's as if he's just saying, well, you can kill some drones if you want. I'm just going to replenish them, and I don't particularly care too much. There are 5 Queens out that should be able to shoo away the Phoenix from doing a huge amount of damage, but for now... Oh, and he is actually adding a Spore Crawler on with there. But look, there's 15 drones already in production at the 7 or 8 minute mark. So... this is, I mean, his gas geysers were slightly late, his Spore Crawlers were slightly late, but all of that comes at the fact that he has 70 drones already. Good God. All right, well, Classic finds small ways to pick some off. Does kill himself a Phoenix in the process, and we do have that layer now morphing in. Also, though, we have +1 on the way, as well as the Robo Facility now churning out a few observers, keeping an eye on things, and the Robo Bay does end up getting added on here for Classic. So it's looking as if he wants to establish himself that third base and play this out a little bit longer. Which is fine. Totally, totally fine. Interesting to note here that Jaedong has thrown down his Rotron and Evolution Chamber at his third base. If there was some kind of attack coming, if there was a 2-base all-in and he was trying to pressure this third base, these buildings would have been extremely susceptible to that kind of attack. So the building placement there alone for Jaedong really does say to me that Jaedong knows that he's pretty safe. Of course, he is getting a few roaches out now, but I mean, he's at 66 workers anyway. There's not really too much more droning that he needs to do from this point on to really sustain himself throughout the entire game. Whereas if something like that 2-base play was coming along and that third base was hit, these buildings would be almost sacrificed and he wouldn't be able to build any roaches. His upgrade would have ended up being cancelled. So Jaedong is the one that's going to be exerting pressure after feeling comfortable throughout the entirety of this game and knowing that no attack was going to come. Anyway, so that third base is now on the way here for Classic. Almost finished, adding on some cannons, realizing that he knows that these roaches are powering across the map after seeing them with Phoenix. And he's just adding on a Void Ray to really, really put a timer on these roaches. Also, that Colossus does help out considerably as well, but it does just walk straight into those roaches and takes a little bit of free damage, but that will replenish up in a second. So the roaches don't do too much. They're going to have to fall on back. And the fourth base is now being taken for Jaedong. Jaedong really didn't anticipate massive amounts of damage being done with these roaches. He just wanted to cause his opponent maybe a little bit of panic, and then from there try and transition on, because if the battle is on his front, if the battle is at his third base, then that means the battle is nowhere near your bases. So you can get away with such things. Twilight Council gets added on for Classic, as well as a ton of Lings moving down to this bottom left. But again, Classic's really fortifying himself very, very nicely. And we do have a few Infestors being added on here for Jaedong as well. So Jaedong still has a lot of options. One thing that is very apparent here is that, you know, he did get that +1 weapons for the roaches, but now he's swung straight back into melee attacks. So really feels as if he wants to go up to Hive and try and get some Ultralisks out on the field. Anything else would seem a little bit #dicey against a Protoss player. There is a big attack actually hitting this third base, but realistically, I don't think he can do a whole lot. Classic is hunkered down. All he did there was really kill 3 cannons, but they bought the time to be able to get that army over there and push that away. Meanwhile, we have Blink in research, +2 weapons on the way as well, and Spire is added on here for Jaedong. Now, I'm hoping, for Jaedong's sake, that this is purely just for some kind of Corruptor or Muters switch later on. Corruptors, I would say, for the Colossi, if he doesn't want to have to deal with High Templars when trying to get those Vipers out to be able to pull them into some kind of ground army-based composition. And then maybe Muters for the standard, the go-to switch that we always see Jaedong employing against Protoss. But regardless of what it is, he certainly has options. The Broodlord option 1 for me is not a happy one, because all this Observer need do is move over. I mean, he's seen the Hive morphing in, he just moves over, sees the Spire, and if he sees the Greater Spire morphing in, he's like, oh, well, I already have a Stargate, I'll just throw down a Fleet Beacon and add on Tempests. And Tempests make a whole lot of trouble for those poor little Broodlords. Now, he did not see that army moving out, but he's trying to pressure this location again. And unfortunately for Jaedong, Classic's been very clever about just leaving 2 Void Rays there to kill all that off. We have a few Corruptors morphing in, but also the Ultralisk Cavern is going down, which is obviously why we have that +2 melee attacks actually started. But this is a very nice timing here for Classic. It really does hit very strongly, especially considering that Jaedong's Spire was as late as it was. And now the Infestors are having a very hard time of actually being able to do anything against this. Fungals have hit, and yes, it does kill off that Mothership core, but it didn't have that much energy anyway. And these +2 Stalkers with these 3 Colossi, and even a 4th Colossus coming along as well. This is very difficult for Jaedong to hold on against. The Corruptors come out just in time, but that's a lot of Stalkers that he could try and use to focus these down. The Colossi are going to have to micro back for dear life. But at the same time, with the Void Rays there present, there's just too much anti-air here for Jaedong to deal with. This base has been completely obliterated, and the Roach numbers are going to fall down in turn. Even more Stalkers reinforcing. Classic hits this timing absolutely beautifully. And this is going to be a very difficult hold for Jaedong to continue on with. He's got a lot of Roaches in production. He's trying to get Adrenal Glands out. 2-2 has not finished, but regardless, it's not going to matter as he's tried to replenish on Desperation Roaches that do have a great concave, but in the end, the 2 Colossi still stay alive, along with a lot of Stalkers, and now Classic takes the supply advantage. GG. He takes game number 1. And Jaedong, man, he's got a little bit to pull back here. I mean, one good explanation for that game, new feature extension mods. Oh, okay, thank you very much, StarCraft. One thing that did happen during that game is that, yes, Jaedong really didn't take all that much damage earlier on. He lost a few drones here and there to the Phoenix and the Mothership core harassment, and that's all fine and dandy. So technically, Jaedong was left to play his own game. But on the flip side, so was Classic. Classic never really felt too pressured. His third base went up pretty easily. By the time the Roaches and Zerglings came along to that third base, they weren't really doing too much. And as I said before, Classic hit that really key timing that he needed to whilst all those transitions were going on from Jaedong. The Spire transition, the Ultralisk Cavern transition. Not having any of those tools available to him and only having Zergling Infestor against an army like that is always going to leave you in a really bad place. But anyway, guys, we're going to get onto game number 2 here in a second. A big thank you for joining me already here today for the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers. I'm very excited about this. I mean, technically, for these qualifiers, I have to wake up at like 6 a.m. so I can get my morning routine done and spend an hour and a half on my hair. It doesn't take that long, honestly. But it's a lot of fun to actually wake up and do these qualifiers, especially when you've got players of this caliber playing. So, Habitation Station will be our next map. And That is certainly true. So we do love ourselves some Habitation Station. We even saw a crazy game last night in WCS Challenger where we had Crass actually flying his command center over to the goal base. In a PVT, of course, a little bit different. But in the end, all is good. So 1 second, guys, whilst I sort a few things out. Camera, where are you? There you are. All right. Huh. It was already set. That's really strange. Okay. Alrighty, let's see if that fixes my problem. No, it doesn't. My F key is broken. All right, okay. Whatever. I tried to fix it on the fly, but it's not going to work. Spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our teal. Protoss, I'm trying to follow the Nexus, but it won't let me. He is Classic. And spawning up to the top left-hand corner as our blue Zerg, it is Jaedong. Currently 1 game down. Not having the best of times. Classic, very formidable PvZ, and if Jaedong wants to see the light of day into a 3rd game, he's going to have to try and find routes to transition a little bit more cautiously. Classic hit a great timing, and really got punished for it. And look at this, Jaedong being extremely thorough about his scouting. Either that or he's just going to go straight for a gold base. Oh my god. He's actually going hatchery first at the gold base. Jaedong, you're a crazy man. All right, well, Classic. If Classic gets in here and sees that there's a lack of, where's that drone going? Where's that drone going? Oh, he's making it look like, oh, you're cheeky. You are cheeky. And now Classic's like, wait a minute. Don't you do that. Nasty. Okay, so interesting. 2nd drone actually comes down as well. Wait. Okay, so he is going to go spawning pool. There was this fleeting moment of thought in my head where I was like, is he really going to go double hatch before pool against a gateway opener? But no. He's not. Because that would have blown my mind and actually been quite cool on a map like this. Because right now, I mean, this hasn't been spotted. The one thing that could happen, though, is that he's still trying to block this off. And Classic right now, I'm under the impression that he can't feel as if he's blocked this off for so long. Like, there has to be something else going on. The drone would have been more aggressive about that. He's going to go up to the goal base. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. And now he sees it. So he's like, yeah, fooled me. But hello, Classic. He goes for the gold base as well. Okay, this is quite cool. This is quite interesting indeed. So now, one thing that does come to light is that Jaedong spots this very, very quickly. And is he going to do anything to try and punish it is the question. The thing is that with the Mothership Core, this... you know, before the Mothership Core was really implemented, I think that this would have just been the most impossible thing to ever do. But now with it here, now with it being present, I mean, you can just sit this across. Yes, of course, there's going to be 6 Zerglings out, and if there was only a Zealot or something like that, then it would have been very, very difficult to really hold on. But with the Mothership Core provides you that defensive capability, and Classic's controlling this very well, actually keeping good vision on the Zerglings and making sure that he can deny any good positioning that these Zerglings would want, be it to threaten that natural at the goal base, or be it to threaten the main. So, 3rd base is going to go down for Jaedong. This game is going to unfold a little bit weirdly, and all my timings are going to be thrown off because both players have a goal base so early. So we're really going to have to kind of play this one on the fly, especially since Classic just got a robo. What? Is he going to hit some kind of 2-base timing off this? This is... Alright, anyway. I wasn't really expecting robo. Look how quick this Immortal comes out. Okay, so either Classic is going to try and hit something too basey, or he's anticipating a Roach Warren. And either way, this is a pretty cool move. I do like the addition of Immortals very quickly, because the Roach Warren that we're seeing actually already thrown down here for Jaedong is hidden up to the top left-hand corner. It's not really in a defensive position to like maybe wall something off. He's just getting that down. He's getting the Evolution Chamber as well. All of this is in the main, where maybe Classic doesn't actually spot. Chrono Boost is being focused on this Robo facility. And if you think from a Protoss mind in this game, it's been a bit of a wacky opener from both players. Even the layers morphing in at the gold. It's been a bit of a wacky opener. So Classic, as the Protoss player, he's like, yeah, okay, you know, you've got 3 bases. Maybe your macro gets a little bit stronger than mine at that beginning stage. What do I do to keep myself defended, or even just go for the aggression itself? And he's thinking, well, you're probably going to go for Roach Warren. You're probably going to try and do something at this base, maybe try and bust it with a lot of roaches, anything like that. But the Overseer came in and did see an Immortal, and it also sees all of these gateways. So it is going to be a 2-base Immortal all-in, as we were theorizing earlier. And this hits really, really, really fast because he sank his initial gas, or some of his initial gas at least, into that Robo facility very quickly. And even the 3 Immortals were committed to in terms of gas before a lot of these sentries were. These sentries have only just recently been warped in. So this is hitting at the 9-minute mark, where we have 11 roaches out to contend with 3 Immortals and this small force. This is going to be difficult for Jaedong. He has to evacuate some of the drones from this from the high ground, because Classic is looking to threaten. And whoa, 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 calm down. Those force fields caught some of those units so quickly in a flurry of death. 4 Immortals are with this army. Oh man, Jaedong, he's got to be scared of Classic. Classic is playing this out great. The one thing that could maybe work out for Jaedong is something like a small counterattack, but even that's not going to work out too well. This army is ferocious here from Classic. That 1 Immortal takes a little bit of damage, sure, but it doesn't even get through to the hull. It only pierces the shields. And more roaches try and flood in from either side, but Classic has a fantastic reinforcement point. Despite that pylon going down, there's still another one in bolster. The drones are going to try and come off the line to deal with this, but good force fields will block off a good chunk of that. The roaches at the back do focus down 2 of these Immortals, and this is actually a pretty good engagement for Jaedong to shut down a lot of the DPS, a lot of the firepower at the back, but there's still those 2 Immortals wailing away at some of the units on the ramp. And also there are some force fields there, so he could set up on that ramp as well. But he wants to try and kill off more and more roaches. When another Immortal has fallen, there's only 1 Immortal left here. If Jaedong is able to hold on, then that is an absolute amazing defense. As the Zerglings and roaches try and flood on, he's actually going to hold this. He is actually going to hold this. Classic really overstepped the mark with a bit of his force there. Had it split, and that has really come back to bite him, as roaches and Zerglings do flood on forwards to kill off the remaining Stalkers. That 1 Immortal trying to hold on strong as well. You've got to remember, though, that he did lose quite a lot of workers during that defense. He's down to 46 against 43. He lost 12 in total. So the action is going to subside for just a little bit. We have... Oh, okay, those are changelings, never mind. But the roaches trying to break down this wall means that now Classic has a very, very tough decision ahead of him. 1 force field is actually going to block out his units here, and that's not the best position at all. As all these roaches need to do is bring down these Stalkers and then have full and free reign over that mineral line for a good chunk of time. 5 workers have already died. Units in the natural, I want to call it a natural, again. And, I mean, of course, you know, these roaches, they're dying. They got 9 workers in total. But coming back to this engagement here, he'd split off some of the units up here. There were some units down here. Some of the units up here were even focusing down the layer for a while. Look at the damage that was actually done to that, which could have been done to other units if they'd have all been together. But this game is going to continue on. Oh god, it was such a sick timing by Classic, but executed not the most amazingly. I mean, of course, some of the force fields at the beginning were really nice, but again, the separation of that force just really came back to bite him. And looks like we're going to have stage number 2 of this attack. Now, stage number 2 of this attack hits in a very, very scary manner here for Jaedong, because he had to sack a lot of his drones at that gold base. His income during all of this period hasn't been quite as strong. This pilot's going down, which looks as if he wants to actually take a third base, and Jaedong's buying himself some great time. Oh, but one force field will catch those units, only letting one roach through in the end. But this lured him away from the natural, or gold base even, and he brings down the robo facility very, very quickly. And now, I mean, Jaedong's bought so much time, to the point where his +2's going to be finishing up soon. He's getting 20 roaches out at any time now, and if he takes engagements in the right spots, he is going to wrap around this army and completely bear hug it to death. This is another cool game. God, really cool game. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Intel Extreme Masters. Hype. Okay. So, more Zerglings and Roaches in production. He's sending a few around the back. And Classic has to be very, very careful here. Right now, the vision of Classic, he doesn't see those Roaches that could come in from the back. He's going to have to expend a lot of force fields. That small slip there through that hole in those force fields meant all of the Roaches could get the wraparound, and Jaedong will bring down mortal after immortal. This Gateway army is absolutely toast, and Jaedong is able to take game number 2 after such cool holds. GG, 1-1 here in the round of 16. What a series here between Classic and Jaedong so far. Very, very nicely done. All right, let's tweet out that we have game number 3 here. Okay, game 3 between Jaedong and Classic. Awesome games so far. Go, go, go. Okay, perfect. Done with precision. All right, so we're going to get into game number 3 in just a second here between Classic and Jaedong. And we do have the invite to Ultrazeme Stronghold. Oh boy, if there was ever a way to finish this series, that's certainly one way. Or not finish the series, as the case may be, if the game goes on for an hour and a half. Okay, so everyone is invited to the lobby. We're going to jump in just a second. A big thank you for joining me here early in the morning for the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers for the Asian region. My name's Kyle Aris, the official caster of ESL TV for StarCraft, along with Sean Apollo Clark, who is currently flying away somewhere. So, for now, the countdown is finished. We are going to get into game number 3 here between Classic and Jaedong. And as I said, it's a big map. Ultrazeme Stronghold. It can make for some interesting situations. Classic, unless he wants to go for some big gateway aggression early on, I am almost convinced that you have to go for some kind of Stargate play on this map. It's too scary to do anything else as a Protoss, especially since it's against Jaedong as well. A guy who's probably going to go for some kind of airplay himself. All right, but this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And the winner of this advances on to the round of 8 in the upper bracket, whereas the loser will fall down to the lower. So we still have the opportunity of both of these players actually advancing on to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. However, of course, the competition is very, very stiff indeed. From the Korean region alone, we have Maru, Bomber, SOS, Jaedong, Rain, Cure, Classic. So yeah, kind of a tough tournament. Probably going to be tougher than the Intel Extreme Masters itself, which keeps happening in these Korean qualifiers, but, you know, what can you do? All right, so everyone is loaded up, and there we go. Okay, so let's jump into game number 3, as we have these guys 1-1 apiece. Spawning up to the top right as our teal Protoss, we have SK Telecom T1's Classic. And up to the top left, we have our blue Zerg. You might know of him. He is EG Jaedong. Okie dokes. So, first thing to notice, not cross spawns. And I haven't actually cast too many games on this map that have been close spawns. And once again, Jaedong gets the lucky Overlord scout off, heading in the right direction. And because of the way these spawns work is that if Classic actually wants to go for something like a Nexus first, which is entirely possible on this map, this Overlord is going to spot his opponent all the quicker because it will just skirt slightly by that, and then he'll be hunky-dory. So. This map, compared to previous map, it's extremely large. It's almost double the size. If you look at it. Well, actually, no. Habitation Station's a little bit bigger than, say, something like Belshire Vestige or Heavy Rain. So it's like double the size of Heavy Rain or something like that. So a lot of different dynamics come out on a map this big, and a lot of thought processes are angled towards such things. All right. Well, Nexus first for Classic. Surprise, surprise. Wasn't expecting anything else. Meanwhile, Jaedong, also hatchery first. Not expecting anything else. Anything other than those would be a little bit needless in terms of the defense. The little Hover Lab bot, hello. Apparently Hover is a new category introduced with some of these maps. Or something like that, I don't know. But behind this, Classic is playing a very, very greedy style. Nexus into Gateway. And it was a, it's basically not really leaving him too well defended. But Jaedong, I mean, he realized even before spotting this Nexus that he could go triple hatch before pool. So he does throw down the pool as well as the extractor. Jaedong's going to play this series out very, very greedy. And it's going to be interesting to see what Classic wants to do in this series. I can only, once again, anticipate something like a Stargate play, unless he wants to go for big gateway aggression early on. Now, unfortunately for Classic, he scouted in exactly the wrong direction, which on a map like Ultrazeme Stronghold makes a very big difference compared to something like, well, not a very big difference, but a slight difference compared to something like Frost, for example, where, yes, it's a big map, yes, it's a 4-player map, but Ultrazeme Stronghold is even bigger. So if you imagine how much how many minerals this probe is actually losing during this entire transition around the map, it becomes quite a big deal. Like, that distance times 2 divided by all of this distance that this poor little dude's doing, as well as mine time, I guess, but still, big deal. And there we go, there's the Stargate on the way for Classic. He even throws that down on his ramp. Jaedong sees this very quickly, and I think at this point, aside from looking out for something like gateway pressure, he's just confirming what he already knew his opponent would do in the form of that Stargate. Well, the third base has been spotted here for Classic, and he's going to run on home with his tail between his legs for that poor little probe, as he can't really do a whole lot right now. Unless, of course, he ends up going up to this high ground and then throwing a pylon down. Generally, in these spawning positions, that's a really good location to throw it down. But it's very predictable as well. Also, you can throw a pylon down on the other side of these rocks and then try and warp over them. That's also another good choice. But I think more so than not, Jaedong would look to take his 4th base down in this location, as opposed to a little bit forwards towards his opponent up in this north. Because then that kind of pylon position here would become extremely, extremely potent. But for now, actually, it's an Oracle Opener here from Classic, and he's looking to take a 3rd base. There are a few Lings looking to pressure, but realistically, I don't think they can do a whole lot here. They'll poke up the ramp and have a look around, and then if he doesn't actually check that 3rd base location, there you go, he sees the pylon. So he will try and come down and make something happen there. Could throw down a force field and try and save that pylon, but he can just cancel as well, or not cancel, and let those Lings into his base. All right, all of that was not what Classic wanted to happen. And in fact, Jaedong is going to try and seize the advantage here with those Lings now in production to pressure that third. And he kills one of the sentries. And that one had the energy on it as well. So that was a nice pickup for him. Meanwhile, the Oracle, did it do anything? Where are you? You got 9 kills. All right, okay, that's not too bad. But if all of these Lings do manage to get this expansion, then that is going to be a terrible, terrible spot for Classic to be in. Oh, no. Or you could just do that. Or you could just do that. Jaedong manages to seize the advantage once again. Sends 30 or so Lings up into his opponent's base. And that is going to do a lot of damage. Where is the Oracle ended up dying off over the left-hand side. I can't observe everything, sorry. But look how many workers he's got. 23 workers with that. The projection of these Lings, it really felt as if he wanted to go over to that third base and try and deny it. But there's still more Lings streaming in. They kill off pylons. Yes, the Void Ray is now out, but look at them streaming across the map right now. He actually has no units really to be able to cope with this. He has one Void Ray, but one Void Ray alone is not going to be able to deal with the torrent of aggression that we're seeing from these Zerglings that are not only killing off probes at the pocket expansion, but also focusing down this Nexus. You're going to be able to kill this off very, very quickly. He's actually Chrono boosting that Nexus, maybe to try and recharge some shields during all of that, but that would have been a bit weird in itself. And Classic now is really under a lot of pressure. That third base dying off means that the economy behind this for Jaedong is going to be vastly superior. And Classic's having a really hard time. Of course, he does have his Forge whirring away. He's going to have +1 weapons very soon. Technically, that +1 weapons will finish before Carapace for Zerglings, so Zealots will be able to hold on against Zergling numbers a little bit better. But one Zergling has a look around and sees exactly what's going on. So the rest of the Zerglings, all the brothers and sisters of that one scout Zergling, try and run him. And he's going to force the cancellation again. If those force fields can hold on, the Zerglings at the top, they would all have been traded away and it would have been very close. But in the end, the force fields saved the day. Good job, Classic. Good job. All right. So extra gateways get added on. Twilight Council is about to finish up, so you can transition onto +2 as well as Blink. But the creep spread for Jaedong is about to start flourishing across this map, especially with 2 queens fully dedicated to the task. And this 4th base is about to start here for Jaedong. I think it could have actually started a little bit quicker. But that's by the by. I mean, a lot of his attention has been focused straight onto that 3rd base, looking to deal with it, looking to punish it. And obviously, when you punish a 3rd base like that as a Zerg, you do have to be kind of careful of your opponent just saying, well, you've done too much damage. Nope, I'm not doing it anymore, and I'm just going to go for it. Which, actually, with the 5 gateways that he has in production, that might be the case. Enduring Locust is now in production here for the Swarm hosts, as well as Aspire. And he did see a good portion of these extra gateways being added on. So there's still a lot of options available here to Jaedong, but oh dear. Oh, he's actually building a lot of queens and really being aggressive with this creep spread. Jaedong is going to bring the fight to Classic's front. There's going to be no man's land. There will only be creep. And Classic moving out here, looking to throw a pylon down, but once he sees the extent to which this creep has extended, the thing is that the very odd thing about this build here from Classic is that he doesn't have a robo yet. He's going to need an observer out to deal with the Swarm hosts if he can get on top of them. That's if he can get on top of them. And they will buy a lot of time here for Jaedong. Creep's going to start being pushed back a little bit, but he can't push it back anymore for now, as there's just no observer, no Oracle to speak of either. Templar Archive's going to be added on, and Zerglings are going to try and go all the way around for a counterattack. But right now, with those Swarm hosts being revealed by this hallucinated Phoenix, Classic cannot push any longer. There's nothing he can do. He doesn't have the AoE damage to deal with Swarm Hosts. He doesn't have the detection to deal with Swarm Hosts. He has none of the tools to deal with Swarm Hosts. And once again, Lings get in the base here. Classic leaves it open. He had 2 probes, for some reason, sat around there. And he's going to try and focus down the Robo Facility. This is actually a really, really cool choice, because then he can deny the detection for just a little bit. He does get it at the price of all of those Zerglings, almost. But now a second Robo Facility gets added on. Robo Bay is getting produced as well. But Classic's managed to wiggle his way around this entire map and is going to pick up this 4th base kill, unless these Zerglings can somehow do something. But the Queens, as well as the Swarm Hosts, are now moving into assault position. And this 3rd is very, very dangerously close to the perimeter of these Locusts. All right. Well, the 4th base did end up dying here. But Jaedong right now, he's almost maxed out, so I don't think he's caring too much about that 4th base. Of course, it is a bit of a blow to him, but if he can trade away his opponent's 3rd base for that, I'm sure he'll be in a happy, happy spot. +2 weapons against +2 carapace, all negating one another in the grand scheme of things, but the Locusts are going to help out those Zerglings to make sure that they don't get traded away too easily. But at the same time, the Stalkers, as well as the Sentries, are actually just going straight for the assault here. This is going to draw Jaedong back. This is a very, very strong move here for Classic, considering the spot he's in, considering he doesn't actually have any AoE to deal with any of these units. 2 Colossi now in production as well. If he can continue to buy time, that's going to be great. But all of these units are going to be complete the sacrifice, as a lot of the Zerglings do manage that wraparound. More force fields will go down to make sure that the Stalkers can get as ample damage done as possible. And they actually managed to blink out to the safety of that motion core. He can actually recall out of here. Oh my god. Close, close calls from Classic. Meanwhile, all of the Zerglings at the 3rd base have been cleaned up. 40 workers have been killed off here by Jaedong, but it's still 65 to 67. And he's bought time against these Swarm Hosts to actually get Colossi in the right positions. 11 Corruptors now in production here as Jaedong looks to press his somewhat advantage. I mean, I can't even call it a full advantage right now after that little bit of damage got done. The Zerglings try and go for the run by once again. They have to kind of compromise and go for the mid. Oh, but he's trying to get it. Oh my god. Chrono boosts it instantly, wants those shields to recharge as quickly as he possibly can. Because the next wave of Locusts, even just a nibble at that nexus is going to kill it off. And then his economy is going to be a little bit in tatters. But now, because Classic managed to buy a little bit of time for these Colossi, if this will keep him in good stead, the Zerglings swing on forwards along with those Locusts as well. Not the best idea. And this Mothership Core is just about to have a little bit of energy to be able to throw down a very vital spell. Maybe the Photon Overcharge, anything he has to try and help this out. He does have energy for the Time Warp as well. There was a nice blink forwards just before by Classic to try and catch some of those Colossi, some of those Corruptors. But yet again, another run by here for Jaedong, trying to go into the main, doesn't get there. There is a Zealot blocking it off. Tried to go into the natural for a second there, but look how quickly all of those Zergling numbers die off. A very resilient hold here so far by Classic. A very resilient game in general. The Queens stray off creep, and they don't want to be doing that. The blink forwards as well. Classic is looking to bring the pressure back onto Jaedong, as the creep now means little, means nada. Classic up in terms of supply. His army is ferocious. +3 weapons finished for him just a little bit ago. Again, the resilient play of Classic really shining through. And the decision-making as well to come down here with that small Stalker Sentry force and then be able to get out with some of those Stalkers after killing off the 4th base, after putting on some pressure at that 3rd. Classic has played this game out absolutely wonderfully. And now the Stalker Colossi numbers swell as he moves forwards to the 3rd base. Jaedong is in a lot of trouble. He needs to buy some time. The Swarm Hosts are going to try and do that for him. The Stalkers, as well as the Colossi, raining down havoc on those Locusts and killing them off very quickly. All he needs to do is blink onto those Corruptors, and that's all that Jaedong really has here right now, is a lot of Corruptors. 18 in total. He knows if he can bring down the Colossi, then maybe that's his key back into this game. Also, the Zergling's going to get this Nexus over here. Oh, are they going to get it? It's so close. It's so close. Oh, he gets it. He gets it. So there's really not a whole lot of economy laying back at home here for Classic. He does have a bit of a bank, so he can expand. But still, Classic now pressures down towards the fourth and will kill that off. And the thing is that with Classic killing off the fourth, whilst he's also expanding multiple times behind this, Jaedong is really now in a chokehold. How can he transition off of this? He's going to continue to play out the longer game with the Swarm Host style, but he lost a lot of his queens that had a lot of energy before. He manages to deny the fourth base down here, but Classic, the thing is that he has the bank to expand and then throw down a lot of static defenses as well. The blink forwards catches a few of these Swarm Hosts. Really good control by Classic to keep these Swarm Hosts denied away from the Colossi, whilst also using the Colossi to kill off the Locust and keep the Stalkers well defended. There's really not that much static defense here for Classic that he could be adding on, but he's going to go for the push. He's actually found himself right on top of these Swarm Hosts, but doesn't actually have any detection, so he's going to have to rely on some kind of Colossi splash damage here to be able to kill this off. He's actually now adding on an Observer, realizing that there wasn't one with the army, warping in a few more Stalkers as well, but at the same time, the Zergling's going to swing on forwards to this third base, try and pressure this where they can. The Swarm Hosts, a few of them did die off thanks to the splash damage, but now there's no more Colossi. There is no more Colossi. There is the Observer over here as well now, so that is also helping out. In fact, he got those Observers over there. It wasn't just the AoE that was killing off those Swarm Hosts. My apologies, but regardless, got caught up in the moment. The expansion did end up dying off once again. Zerglings as well as some good fungal growth land on a lot of this. That's a lot of Zerglings flooding out. Actually, from all angles, he should be able to clean up a lot of these Stalkers. Oh my god, Jaedong! How are you able to clean this up? But during all of that, he lost a lot of his Swarm Hosts, which were really the big key in being able to keep him in this game. Also, the Stalker position here is not too bad. So Jaedong is plummeting in terms of supply. It really feels as if Classic should be able to take this game now, as the remaining Zerglings flooding out are going to get killed off very quickly. They don't have +3 carapace, whereas +3 weapons is finished for these Zealots, so the 2-shot is available to them on those Zerglings. And more units now just slowly trickling in here for Classic, but it's been a very close game here on Altrazim Stronghold, and Classic looks to be seizing the advantage with both hands, as Jaedong is going to fall here in the round of 16, unless he can pull an absolute miracle. He's got a base up to the north. He's trying to stream out more Zerglings towards these Zealots, but all he need do is warp in Zealots. There's only Zerglings coming out here for Jaedong, and they still don't have that +3 carapace. It's about 15 seconds from finishing. That will make all these Zerglings a little bit more formidable against this, and that's why he's saving a lot of them up. If he can get that +3 out against this, then maybe he's going to be able to hold on. And the interesting thing, actually, during all of this, is if Jaedong can hold this base up to the north, then, the addition of Archons. Okay, I didn't see that coming, but that's scary. But if Jaedong can hold this base up to the north somehow, some way, there's actually no mining left over for Classic here. No mining whatsoever. And the Zerglings are going to try and get the wraparound here on these Archons. That's a very, it's an all right trade. But he needs more Zergling numbers. And now the mining base has been discovered here by Classic. And he's killed off, so many of those drones, those Archons. 30 kills, 18 kills between them. Jeez. And more High Templars are being warped in. Archons are the key to success here for Classic. Jaedong has plummeted in terms of supply. The remaining mining bastion of hope for Jaedong has been shut down. And now his main begins to be assaulted. What a game, what a series we've seen here for the round of 16. I was worried that we weren't even going to get it at the very beginning, as they were taking quite a while, but it was worth the wait. As Jaedong is going to lose, but in the end, it's been a really entertaining series. A little bit of Archon micro, and manages to save it from those few remaining Zerglings. Jaedong exhibiting fancy GG timing here, but it is all but lost for the remaining Zerg forces. There's a few Corruptors trying to do something. It was a close game here. But Classic will prevail, killing the remaining drones. And, well, I think units-wise, there you go. GG, guys. Classic advances on 2-1. And oh my god, my voice needs a rest. All right, guys, we're going to go to a short commercial break, and then when we're back, we're going to have more action here from the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne qualifiers.